Welcome back, everybody, to the PCC. I'm Rdawggg with the triple G's, and right beside me, I got Spuds the Tuber and Trix to help us break down the finals. Okay, this is the finals now. We've got Even Worse Timing versus Dirty Lake and the boys, who just won against Rdawggg. Best of 5 series. Going over the roster yet again, we've got Even Worse Timing, Snoop, Ray, Shin, Pablo, and Vecron. And then over to, actually, let's break this down. Anything you want to talk about, Spuds, looking at this roster?
Yeah, actually. I know Pablo is a fucking monster behind the sticks. Oops. Yesterday, I decided to play a little bit of Pred, and I ran into Snoop, Vecron. Both, they just ran it down the lane. I felt like I couldn't do anything, so I'm excited to see what's going to happen over here. I just got bullied out of my pubs.
Yeah, and we're going to see how they're going to play against Dirty Lake and the boys. Anything you want to talk about? Trix, about Even Worse Timing?
If D-Lab doesn't ban Rampage against Ray, I don't know what to do.
We don't know what to do. But now Dirty Lake and the boys, looking at their roster yet again, we've got Nitro, Grady, Appy Picker, Lakeinator, and Toasty. Okay, we're in the finals now, so this is a best of 5, no longer a best of 3. All day in this tournament, we've been having a sweep in each of these series. This time around, is it going to be different? Or is it going to be a sweep yet again? I have no idea, but we got to do some predictions, okay? I'm going to start with you, Spuds. Even Worse Timing, you said you've played against some of them. What about Dirty Lake and the boys?
I don't think I've run into any Dirty Lake and the boys recently. I've ran into them earlier on when Pred was like maybe a month or two into things. So based off that, I'm going to say I'm going with Even Worse Timing over Dirty Lake and the boys. I just feel like they have a more cohesive team when it comes to like plays and stuff that they make.
I do really like their logo too. It's very cute.
Oh, and yeah, the hat does it for me.
Yeah. And what about you, Trix? Spuds is locking in Even Worse Timing.
You know, I think I'm gonna split the desk again. I'm gonna go for Dirty Lake and the boys. I really liked what they did last series. They showed that they have great macro play within the game. I think that they have good macro outside of the game. And to me, finals are really where you show that you're able to adapt as a team and overcome the challenges that the enemy team is presenting to you. And I think that they can do that.
All right, and that leaves me to choose in between these two teams. I think I'm going to go with Even Worse Timing. I know I kind of went against them when they went against like the professors. And I was saying Pablo has not lost a tournament since Fault. I kind of want to see him keep going with that 100% win rate. I want to see what he has to offer and how he'll manage, how he and his team will manage to stay on top. But let's go ahead and turn it over to the draft. Spuds, you mentioned that was it you, Trix, that they need to ban Rampage, right? Who do you think the other ban will be then?
Yeah, looking at both teams, I think Rampage is a priority ban. Ray and Grady both used it. I don't know. We've been seeing a lot of Lieutenant Bellica bans. We've been seeing Muriel bans, just kind of like general flex picks where these characters slot into a draft really cleanly, no matter what kind of style you're playing. So I think it's really going to depend on what the teams want to draft, what they ban against the enemy team, rather than maybe trying to do like a priority pick or a target ban.
Yeah, and as we speak, we see a Muriel ban yet again. We saw a lot of Muriel bans, especially for that last series. Spuds, can you talk to me about Muriel ban?
I don't see the whole reason why. Like, I know in the end game she's strong, but I don't feel like enough games have been going long enough for it to have her to have that much of an impact. But I'm just a spectator. I'm not a player, so these people know more than me about this.
Yeah, and of course, and you were talking about a Bellica ban, and there it is, Trix. We see a Bellica ban. Can you talk to me about the Bellica ban as well as the Muriel ban?
Honestly, I think Yes, these characters are good. I don't think that they are the greatest in either of their respective roles. I think the biggest thing about these is that they're just frustrating to play against. Like, it feels bad to pump all of your damage into a Muriel shield. It feels bad to get a great engage and then Muriel presses 2 buttons and then all of the damage that you would have done is gone. It feels bad to play against a Belica where you can't cast your abilities, especially early game. Like, for a mid laner to have to dump 4 auto attacks into the Belica drone just to not get punished for playing the game, it feels bad. So it's easy to just kind of get these out of the way and then move into your first pick for even worse timing, which is the Rampage.
Yeah, I'm really sad to not see a lot of Belica in this tournament because she keeps getting banned. But here we go. We see more picks. Rdawggg and the boys locking in Decker and the Crunch, and even worse timing, locking in Rampage. Spuds, talk to me and talk to us, actually, about what you're seeing on the draft.
I'm loving it. Decker's always a great pick, in my opinion. I don't know
Not
why they went
biased.
through. Belica is a threat in both the mid and support roles, but I feel like they could have probably banned Decker if they were going to grab Rampage first. There's still too much combo ability between everything that they could still draft into.
Any thoughts about like that Crunch pick? And as we speak, we see the Morgesh and the Kira. Trix, talk to us about the draft.
Yeah, picking the Decker after your opponent picks Rampage. If you don't, it's kind of, like suicide in draft. You have to split up those 2 long-range CCs. We've seen the effectiveness of that throughout the game. I like the Crunch pick. It's if you don't have the Rampage to follow up, the Crunch can double dash uppercut into somebody, so you still have that long-range engage potential. Morgesh, like we talked about earlier, we saw, I believe it was Shin, just pumping out 47k damage, way more than anybody else in the game. Kira, we've been talking about it all day. Late game monster, a little weak in the early game, but a solid, safe pick overall.
Yep, and now we see the Gideon and the Rdawggg as well on Rdawggg and the boys. I think Lakeinator is really finding that Rdawggg is his comfort pick in this tournament so far, because I feel like I've seen him a lot on Drongo, but now we're seeing him on the Rdawggg, and I think he's doing a great job with his combos with his team, especially with Murdoch's ultimate, Long Arm of the Law. Spuds, what do you think?
Well, these Gideon and Rdawggg are both 100% comfort picks. You can tell with how much devastation Gideon's been working through with Rdawggg and the boys. Rdawggg has traps that can be comboed with Decker. Like, they just have a solid lineup so far going into this.
Yeah, but you kind of mentioned, Spuds, that Morgesh didn't really have that much of an impact in the last game. What do you think about the Morgesh pick?
It looks like they might send her off lane. I think if they're sending her off lane, then they have a lot more to work with the Shinbi in the mid, so they might be able to keep up with Clear compared to how Morgesh into Gideon, I mean.
And of course, we're seeing the FaZe and the Shinbi for even worse timing. Trix, talk to us about what you're seeing.
Yeah, the FaZe pick into Decker and some like characters that want to stun you from long range is just so good because the FaZe can just sit back, you pull somebody out, you relink, you pull somebody else out. I like the Shinbi pick. We saw that they can put so much pressure onto the map. The Professor's absolutely cracked underneath that pressure, so it's interesting to see what Rdawggg and the boys are going to be able to do. Not sure if it's going to be Crunch or Feng Mao off lane. Both of those matchups are pretty volatile. If either character gets rolling, it's going to be a tough time. So I think that the jungle pressure, I'm looking for it to be applied off lane early. And yeah, Rdawggg for Lakeinator, he's so good with the traps. It's absolutely a comfort pick. I'm really hoping that Appy Picker gets a lot of mileage out of the black holes. Unless FaZe builds Silentium this game, then Appy Picker can completely forgo True Silver. It's going to be huge ults across the board. And yeah, this one looks like it's going to be a pretty bloodbath type game.
Oh my gosh. I am looking forward to see what kind of combos, what both these teams have to offer, excuse me. But any final remarks or final thoughts about that draft, Spuds, that you would like to add?
I don't think I have anything for the draft, but I do have something for the stream. This is the first game of the finals. Get hyped, chat. Send both these teams your power. Let's get this going.
send them the energy, okay? But you know, I want to watch this game just like you, and Trix does too, and everybody else in chat does. So you know, we have Lance, Cecil, and TJDJ over in our casting desk. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Rdawggg. Welcome everyone to the casting desk. It is time for grand finals. I'm TJ. I've got Lance alongside me. And Lance, you've just been like kind of chilling in the Discord, like watching all of these games. And I know that you are really looking forward to this particular matchup, but you know, it's finally here. How much are you looking forward to it?
I have been sitting around since 7 in the morning, my time as an NA Wester, waiting for this moment, waiting to be unleashed and ready to watch these grand finals. I've kind of had a slight prediction in my head. I know I was going towards the professors early in it, but deep in my heart, I kind of knew Even Worse Timing was kind of a juggernaut over on that side. I saw Dirty Lake and the boys getting there here as well. I've kind of been anticipating this matchup for 2 weeks now, and I cannot wait another second. Get us on the map, choice.
For sure, and ask and you shall receive. It's Dirty Lake and the boys versus Even Worse Timing. Game number 1 in the grand finals of PCC number 4. And Lance, you know, we were talking about kind of like the individual matchups here, and I think the duo lane is probably where we're going to start for now. I mean, looking at like, you know, Pablo and Vecron versus Lakeinator and Tosi is kind of the hype matchup that we want to start with. You know, just seeing Pablo and Vecron on this pick, the Kira and the FaZe that really dominated the game against the Professors in their first game as well. They get the repeat of it, but of course you've also got Dirty Lake and the boys. You know, Lakeinator is on the comfort pick as well, playing, you know, we've also got the Decker in support, a very classic, comfortable lane here. So I think there's, you know, a lot to kind of dissect, really.
I think it's a lot of confidence out of Lakeinator, locking in that Rdawggg while the Drongo is still up, which is that typical response you see to the Kira, shows a lot of what Lakeinator's got hanging between his legs here, knows that that's not necessarily the easiest matchup in comparison to taking an easy thing like that Drongo, but you saw what he did in the semifinals against Rogue. He's looking to repeat a performance similar to that with that Rdawggg in these ones. Gonna have some good feel with that Decker on his side as well. Lots of ways to keep him safe. Another nice thing about that, it's kind of different than you would expect, but Decker Wall actually blocks the phase lance, whereas like Steel Wall and stuff does not. So a little bit of a natural counter within the kits of them. Although I do still feel like FaZe does feel pretty good into Decker as like a whole. There's just that one interaction isn't Decker's.
Yeah, I think the Des were talking about it in the semi-finals matchup between Even Worse Timing and Professors, is that you kind of have like this blink on cooldown essentially, as, you know, Vecron's just going to play back, let Pablo push forward, and if ever that stasis bomb actually connects, just instantly yeeting Pablo back to safety. And, you know, it's how Even Worse Timing have been able to leverage that as well. But, you know, just looking at kind of the current lane matchups now, we didn't really see any invades coming out. You know, there was a ward placed red side jungle for the side of Even Worse Timing, so they have got a little bit of that knowledge as to where Ray may have started. At least, you know, and he's even going to be pinged on that ward as well, so keeping information going. And you can see kind of the respect coming out there is that Appy Picker is just kind of sitting back, knowing that the Rampage is going to be quite a difficult hero to deal with, especially as this game is going to go later on.
Right, and we saw that good clear coming out of Grady there, went from his blue to his 4s over to his red buff on that level 3, clearing up his 2 is going to be around that mid lane right at this 3-minute mark when the river buffs are spawning there, be able to give a little bit of assistance to Appy Picker there. That's going to be one of the lanes they're going to be looking to win through as Appy Picker. You know, anybody that's watched him, anybody that's ever listened to me fanboy over Appy, you do know how good of a player he is and how easily he can take a game over for you there. A lot of different stars and a lot of different lanes for Dirty Lake and the boys, but they are really up against a mountain here with what you're going to see, especially with Ray playing this Rampage, one of his patented characters. And Ray is one of my like favorite people to have watched. I keep my eye on Ray because he keeps some of the more creative and like fun to watch builds. I've talked about it probably the last time we saw Ray or mentioned him as well, but he had that one Grux thing where he was running Whiff Rockers and Galaxy Greaves, and he was like jumping up into the sky and Captain Falcon punching people. It's such a good clip. So like, just watch Ray. He's a little creative with it, and he definitely knows itemization very, very well and how to do it. But he's going to start a little bit of a pursuit on to Nitro here. Nitro should have what it takes to get away, as he hasn't used that shield for that extra movement speed. Both of them have that dash, but it's really hard to stick to a Fang Mao, especially over here in that off lane, and he's going to get out scot-free. Doesn't even blow the blink there.
Yeah, just having a little bit of a push onto the Snoop as well, which, again, is another matchup because, the Snoop was the winner of the inaugural Crashy MVP trophy for that set as well. So, and the Snoop also getting the pick onto the Shinbi as well. So expecting the split push to start to happen, kind of like, this man is literally taking the inhibitor whilst everyone else is dealing with tier 1 towers. That's how oppressive that lane was to deal with for the Professors. But, going up against Nitro on this Feng Mao is someone who could really answer stats. We want maybe a little bit more about it, but already I believe that was the blink coming out of Shin to get away from Gratti with the forward crunch there. So a bit of a burn of resource, and it's going to be a little bit more difficult for that Morigesh to exist.
Yeah, definitely an advantage here for Appy and how he can play aggressively. He's got that torn space, still has the blink up himself as well, into a character that is pretty stationary in Morigesh, has that little bit of movement speed to get herself out, but definitely a rotational advantage over for Appy and the rest of the Pawn Stars over here. We see Nitro clearing this wave up as well, going to either drop some vision down or look to roam mid himself, as there seems to be a little bit of action going on mid, as a couple of pickles are popping up there on my mini map. Not quite sure. It doesn't look like anybody's going to fall, as all of the health bars are still intact from the looks of it. So just going to get a little bit of farming into Lake and Toasty here still. And we're talking about how good Lakeinator had done in our semifinals, but we can't overlook Toasty and the value that he provided. The peel that he was...
Allied tower under attack.
Okay, looks like we just got a little bit of internet issues on our end, but yeah, as Lance was so eloquently suggesting before he decided to dip out for a little bit, yeah, with the with Toasty on that pick as well, just allowing Lakeinator to really shine on this pick as well. And I feel like when you're dealing with, the side of even worse timing as well, you're going to need to be bringing your A game throughout this as well. So you can see that there is a little bit of a push going on. Lakeinator is backing down. We will be having Lance very soon rejoining us anyway, so you just gotta chill with my voice for a little bit longer here. But for now, 6.5 minutes coming on the clock, no one really falling here. We have seen junglers make their presence known really inside of the mid lane, but it feels like, aside from Gratti burning that blink on towards the Morigesh, it's been very much very calm and just keeping with the farm going as well. But I really do want to highlight, some of the warding coming out here from Dirty Lake and the boys as well. They have kept wards inside the even worse timing jungle, constantly knowing where Ray is, and in order to avoid that rampage as well. But for now, just still waiting for kind of that shirt as well. Gratti has been in the mid lane, maybe looking towards where these jungle ones going to go. The boulder toss will go wide from Ray, not able to pin down Gratti. Happy pick over on the left hand side, going to go in towards the black hole, getting some damage down. Shin, remember, has no blink to get away from this one, but it will eventually be able to get away because FaZe has pulled him straight back out. The energy lance comes down, stops any further egress there, but that's a Vecron having to make the rotation over and saving the life of the mid lane. Okay, let's say so. Of course, with Vecron making that way over, but this is what we got to deal with this Gideon as well. Of course, the black hole, such a big team fighting ultimate, and even in that mid lane as well. So Shin was in such a spot of bother, but yeah, Vecron playing the hero play. Lance, I believe you have rejoined us. Hello.
I am so sorry, TJ. That's live television. Get yourself a drink of water. Lakeinator's going to grab himself a drink right out of the pond, as well as he's going to take a little bit of time, go into his base, get a little bit of items, not necessarily the way he wants to return to his base, but that is going to be a successful gank coming out of Ray over there into the dual lane. They're going to pick that gold buff up as a prize for themselves as well, and everything is starting to unfold exactly the way Even Worse Timing wants to get that early lead in our finals today.
Oh, for sure here, first blood going their way as well. And also, reminder from the PCC stuff to keep yourself hydrated. It appears to be quite a warm one for a lot of people of you beautiful bunch watching the channel. It's very warm in my room, at least I'm going to say that. But anyway, yeah, so this is kind of, Lance, what we've been seeing from a lot of games today is that we've had very low kill counts, but it's been all about the rotations. It's been all about, skirmishes coming out here. There is only just that one kill as Gratti coming over to the right-hand side, looking for Snoop once again, but the Shinbi remains an elusive target. just making the presence known means that Nitro does get the opportunity to get to this wave a little bit more freely. And even in the mid lane, you know, Ray making their presence known inside of the mid lane as well, looking for Appy Picker, but we know how much of a difficult gank onto a Gideon with that torn space can be.
It is pretty difficult to accomplish. He's got that blink up as well. Not really much you're going to do unless you have a way to CC lock him and kind of hit him from outside of the screen. They kind of have that with the Rampage, but it's going to take some pretty quick responses, especially because that Morigesh is going to have to cover a lot of ground. Grady's always waiting in the outskirts of those as well. We are at that 9 minute or just about that 10-minute mark as well. So people are starting to come a little bit online. Everybody does have their ultimates up and available to them at this point in the game, as we see the sixes even over here in the duo lane. Try to get that long range engagement. There's that a little bit of that interaction we were talking about. I'm not sure that would have rooted Lakeinator anyways, but the gate blocks it nonetheless. Not necessarily a great cooldown trade for the Decker either, whereas the cooldown for that gate is about 10 to 12 seconds longer than the energy lance, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do to survive, right?
Absolutely as well. Remembering how the energy lance works as well, it's so many ticks that have to proc before the root comes in as well. So yeah, that containment fence interaction is going to be pretty handy for Toasty to deal with as well. And also with in the draft as well, being able to secure the crunch and the Decker at the same time, remove quite a priority target. So hopefully Grassy might have a bit of an easier time to get in on the action here. And meanwhile, in the river, they're going to find it though. Ray has the level advantage, throws out the Behemoth ultimate as well. The Boulder Toss will not find any purchase. Grassy having to retreat under the jungle. But for now, just very much same as before here. But this gives a little bit of a priority for even worse timing. They have multiple members towards left-hand side, moving around in towards the blue side jungle of Dirty Lake and the boys, looking for a pick. But they have got a bit of priority over that Fangtooth.
They have the inside track on it for sure, and they got maybe their eyes set on Appy a little bit, as I apologize, but I've got pretty much nothing but pixels on my screen to cast from. Looks like they are moving their way over towards that dinosaur. Pick the first one up of the game for themselves. Not a whole lot of contention, it looks like, from Dirty Lake and the boys, as 4 members from Even Worse Timing have arrived already. And any second now, that should be the first one popping and the first neutral objective of the game for Even Worse Timing.
Oh, you just saw the beam coming out there from the left-hand side of the pitch. That would have been quite a nutty steal as well. But it looks like it has just been a trade of neutral objectives. Gratty's grabbed it on the right-hand side. Meanwhile, Snoop getting a lot of damage down.
Ooh,
does kill maybe, but no, actually
it with the dick from the Megacosm.
Ooh, I mean, you saw how low the HP was, and then Snoop getting some damage onto Nitro as well. This Shinbi really starting to make the pain happen as well, having the inside track as well. You can see the replay on the left-hand side as well. The Orca comes down, and yeah, it is that Megacosm. That HP must have dropped below 20, but meanwhile, in the duo side, it's more action. Lakeinator has dropped. Pablo making their presence known once again, and they're able to find a pick onto Dirty Lake, the boys' AD carry.
Yeah, they're winning both sides of the map right now, too. And even though Dirty Lake and the boys probably felt a little bit better about giving that Fangtooth up, trading it for that Mini Prime as well, but the big pushing power and everything that came from that dies instantly with Shin being able to pick up Grady there. But he is going to trade one back and to be able to pick the phase up there, which is important for them to try to get a little bit of gold back into that crunch, put a quarter in the robot, wind him up, get him going, see what they can do. But they've got a little bit of ground they need to make up. Definitely not out of this game now, but a little bit, and Even Worse Timing's advantage, especially with that, with the cancellation of the trade, with the Snoop drop in Grady like it's hot.
For sure, and even you saw the long arm with the law coming out there. I believe that would have, I think that did connect underneath the black hole, so even some assist money going away of Lakeinator as well, trying to make that death not sting necessarily as much as it would have. But of course, the gold going into Pablo. I mean, we've kind of been speaking ad infinitum about what Pablo brings to this team, this win condition. Vecron with the lance from downtown, able to find the route, and Ray just able to hit the boulder on top. It's near enough instant death here, as Even Worse Timing starting to pull ahead here. 4 kills to 1 and a 50 CS differential as well.
Yep, Pablo's already got that Terminus on there, working towards those tainted rounds already too. That's going to do a lot, slow down that healing that the crunch has. a little bit that will just come out naturally from the Murdoch through his crest and everything as well. So about half an item up on where Lakeinator currently is, sitting at 2-0-1, a real good spot. Stop me if you've heard this one before, but Pablo is starting to become a problem for the enemy team.
Yeah, and it's something you've got to worry about, especially as this game is going to go later. We've probably been averaging about 25-minute games throughout this series as well, and that's, you know, with Pablo already kind of being speed ran to get to that point, get to those item break points, and say, you know, the terminal's being picked up as well. Having a little look down a tab as well, see some of the items being built. You know, Appy Picker has already got that combustion as well, so you know, there's even an overlord grab now. But you know, hey, I want to look at some tab action, and immediately it's going to be the black hole. But Shin's able to get away from one ultimate, but cannot get away from 4 members of Taking the Boys. They'll try their best, and actually Vecron is there to play bodyguard and gets away. But here comes Gratti on the return as well. The Snoop making a rotation from right hand side. Low health bars coming out from the side of Dirty Lake and the Boys, but no one drops.
And what a counter engage from Even Worse Timing. They're also able to leave Pablo over in that other lane to be pushing that. And right when it looks like Shin's going to be the one getting caught out. Oh, he does, just a little late. Caster cursing him here. But I mean, Even Worse Timing just rotated that perfectly. It looked like Dirty Lake and the Boys were going to get a good pick, get some pressure on into the mid lane, and all of a sudden, all of the members show up with the best timing possible, except for Pablo over here, who's able to take that turret down in the dual lane as well. And they've got 2 turrets down, 2 tier 1s have already fallen, none for Dirty Lake and the Boys, and Even Worse Timing have got their foot on the gas. You were talking about a lot of our games ending in that 25-minute range. They're looking to end this one even less time than that.
Yeah, definitely feeling good about themselves, you know, but you have to remember that this is a marathon, not a sprint. It is a best of 5 series, so both of these teams have to win a minimum of 3 games to secure their spot as the PCC Grand Champions. But hey, there's still a lot of predecessor to be played in the meantime, at least. And with Dirty Lake and the Boys, you know, they're showing signs of life there. Nitro getting a really good rotation for the right hand side to punish the tower dive. However, Even Worse Timing make it so it is not completely free, because as you say, Pablo will still pick up a lot of that solo XP.
The mid tier 1 has fallen as well, so no frontline tower defense up for Dirty Lake and the Boys at all. A huge portion of the map just became the possession of Even Worse Timing. That is not great for Dirty Lake and the Boys, as they will have less to work with. That's going to give Gratti less to work with as well, less areas to farm, and it will be easier for Raid to invade him. And that is not what you want. Yeah, we saw Snoop chasing him into the jungle over there. It looks like Gratti is over there to try to clean up the scraps, maybe turn it into a 2v1, but like a thief in the night, Snoop has just disappeared.
Snoop actually goes down there. Yeah, Gratti was able to at least answer back the trade, but Even Worse Timing, they will make something happen on one side of the map and immediately respond on the other. Second Fangtooth being secured, utilizing the knowledge, knowing if the enemies are over there, we have just a complete inside track, as you say, to make this happen. Appy Picker actually nearly takes a boulder toss from the blue side jungle, but is able to at least get underneath the tower. This must be so oppressive for Dirty Lake and the Boys to deal with here.
It's got to be difficult for them. We see a 30 CS advantage on on the Snoop over Nitro. Almost 100 total CS just in the entire game. That Even Worse Timing has, and they really are winning every single lane. You do see the Shin sitting at that 1-0, but he was able to take his tier 1 tower. He's got an item working into those Wraith leggings, just finishes now, has 2 items for himself, 165 farm, a tiny bit above Appy Picker in that regard too, who also hasn't picked up a kill for himself. Also scaling late with the Alchemical Rod here. We just got item advantages everywhere, as you would expect with that global gold that you get for taking all of those towers, getting those 2 Fang Teeth, and I've said it before, but I'm going to say it again. They're just in the driver's seat. They're going to pick this mini prime up for themselves as well. Ray doesn't care at all. He's going to disrespect the orb prime and stand right in his goo too. He knows he's a chunky boy.
Yeah, but with, as you say, with the commanding position that's Even Worse Timing are in lands, I've got to throw maybe the incredibly weighted question here is that how do Dirty Lake and the Boys answer back into this game?
So I think at this point, you have to devote just Nitro to split pushing, even though it's kind of difficult to accomplish that because of how much pressure Shin has on him and the advantage that Shinbi is pressing over Feng Mao in this. But I think you have to stay as 4 if you're Dirty Lake and the Boys. You have somewhat of a team fight advantage into this composition. You've got that big black hole ultimate that you can use. You've got a couple of ways to like maybe get people across the map if they get and move all of their people over to Nitro, but just like that, he's going to fall immediately to Pablo, and that kind of takes one of the only options they have away from them, and I don't know what Dirty Lake and the boys can do except for plan better for game 2.
Yeah, I mean, especially with 19 minutes in, with even worse timing, just getting the better trade of every single one of these actions as well. You can see, you know, the towers dropping, Pablo pushing deep into the left-hand side duo lane for side of Dirty Lake and the boys as well, just keeping that pressure up with Vectron alongside them as well. Actually, no, that would be Solar Side because the Cyan buff is there. But 4 members here, you know, grouping up with for this tier 2 tower. And with Dirty Lake and the boys, it's only Toasty and Lakenator here to really deal with this. And they've got, as you say, the inside track throughout this game. They've been just one step ahead of Dirty Lake and the boys. And now what are they going to do with it? Because, you know, we have got All Prime spawning in about 15 seconds time as well. Pablo just keeping these lanes pushed in as well. And even over far on the left-hand side, Stoop's going to go on towards Happy Picker. Goes into the black hole, looking to find a shield with the true silver bracelet. But the Stoop, the all-kill will be enough. And that's just going to be a free pick onto the mid laner. Meanwhile, Even Worse Timing taking another tower.
I'm so impressed by the way that Even Worse Timing is playing this game right now. So they're just playing kind of the opposite way that I just said Dirty Lake and the boys need to do to get back into this. They are just rolling as 4, and they know Snoop is so strong that nobody can 1v1 him. I'd be surprised if he doesn't win most 1v2s in this point as well on this Shinbi currently. So all he has to do is pick up the scraps for who Dirty Lake and the boys sends off to the side lane, sends off to a different spot to pick. And he's just patrolling the map and picking them up while the rest of Even Worse Timing is death falling. And it's just working so well. They mowed down both of their 2-tier towers. They've got the Orb Prime buff still for a little bit. They're going to move, try to get this 3rd tier 2 tower as well, right around the 21-minute mark as well. And it's just flawless execution out of Even Worse Timing.
Yeah, I think you took the words right out of my mouth there. This is just clean predecessor that we're seeing from Even Worse Timing. They are ruling this map. They have the freedom to operate as well, and it's because they've dropped down these towers. They're ahead as well, and also anytime that Dirty Lake and the boys are stepping up to try and make something happen, Even Worse Timing either have an equal response to it, or they're getting something even more on the opposite side of the map. Again, this is just a pattern that we have been seeing throughout today, is that this is a low kill game. There's only 10 kills across the board. This lead has come from taking down towers, utilizing that mini prime buff, and also keeping that CS and keeping on top of your farming. It's quite beautiful to watch, actually.
I don't want to get too corny about it, but yeah, I agree with what you're saying, and it feels like this game is about teamwork and working together as like a unit right now.
The power of friendship.
The power of friendship, it feels like, is what is pulling this together. But it's surprising to me because I know how good of friends the guys on Dirty Lake and the boys are here, and how strong of a team this is. It's kind of surprising me to see this go the way that it has because of how much respect I have for Dirty Lake and the boys, as a team, and how good they are and how well all of those people understand the game. We've got that little bit of they've helped the PCC out in the past bias with the fact that or the fact that Lakenator and Toasty were on our desk in one of our last events. They've always been super cool to me. I like Grady a whole lot as well, but I've got so much respect for how educated players they are, and to see them just get out-rotated and outmaneuvered in this sense this entire game so far has just kind of been surprising to me. And here goes Snoop on the hunt one more time. Abby Picker's going to have to try to run back, but there's no tier 2 tower here.
Damage.
He's going to get himself stuck into a corner. Snoop puts Baby into a corner, and then he's just going to pop him down like that, get him, and there's nowhere to run.
Yeah, even committing just the double blink as well. Just how much damage that circle rhythm is pumping out on towards Appy Picker as well. That is absolutely brutal here. And then even on the back of that as well, that's 2 more kills dropping the Snoop. He's even going to add a 3rd to that one as Even Worse Timing able to grab 3 kills. And now the Energy Lance looking towards Gratty, but there's members in the base. They're looking for it. None of the inhibitors are dropping, actually. That's just how ahead Even Worse Timing are. They're able to roam into it. Meanwhile, there is split pushing going on. Nitro is trying to get a little bit of a counterplay going on the opposite side of the map, and it looks like Even Worse Timing will probably respect that. Yeah, the Snoop has channeled the recall, so has Shin come back. But that's a fair amount of damage going on towards this inhib. Nitro, this might just be a one-way trip here, but he's lost a minion wave that is coming out, and that is just gonna shut down the split push.
Very good.
Curse dead.
Very, very good rock there. I'm not sure if the curse takes him out regardless of it. Definitely helps secure it instead. Ray beams him down. And it looks like, I didn't even notice that Dirty Lake and the boys had made that move, gotten all the way up to that inhibitors on that one side. So good for them, getting a little bit of life breathe into them, having that opportunity to maybe be able to create some pressure and at least stop them from pushing in. But as we say that, they're going to move over to the big purple machine that hangs out in the pit near the off lane. See if they can get this. Ray's going to stick onto it, actually.
Yeah, Lakenator just kind of face-checked around that corner and just walks into a wall of damage coming out from the Even Worse Timing squad. They're able to completely zone away Shin and Pablo more than enough to keep out the entire squad of Dirty Lake and the boys, and with spare change as well. It doesn't look like them would be any real contest here, but for Dirty Lake, the boys are trying to keep this one alive. I mean, I saw the long arm of the law come down, but I see a purple sheen on all of the members of Even Worse Timing, so they will be securing the All Prime buff, and in such a commanding position as well. You feel this will just be a reset, spend the gold, and then try and end this game.
And it is time to join the Turtle Club if you are a member of Dirty Lake or you're one of the boys, because they need to sit here. They need to try to do what they can to keep their core up. They are probably going to have to forfeit an inhibitor, maybe 2 here, like minimum. Potentially they can fight for 1 if they do it early and they get a good engage off of somebody, maybe a good Decker ball to catch Pablo or to catch probably Vecron out so that he doesn't just get yanked by Vecron. But look how far back he's playing. He knows that he doesn't even need to be up there. He just needs to be able to keep Pablo from dying, and you probably won't see Vecron in this. Yeah, he's just going to pull him right out.
Yeah, Toasty with the Rift Walkers pulls them all in. Appy Picker will go with the Black Hole, trying to make something happen. They've already grabbed 1, but it's going to be at the cost because Snoop has taken down Nitro on the other hand side. But Ray wails on the damage towards Appy Picker. They tried to make that happen. Lakenator steps up and he steps back into his spawn. Immediate boulder toss to the Bugle, and that's going to send the mascot of Dirty Lake and the boys back towards their spawn. The mid inhib drops, left hand side goes. It's only Kratty and Nitro to hold off this onslaught, but 4 members strong is the Even Worse Timing side. Gratty going down to half HP. There's no minion waves here, so it can't quite end just yet, but there's going to be another wave coming in very, very quickly. At least Ray getting a fair amount of damage. The Phoenix will be popping on towards Gratty, but that's just going to be another death timer. You're going to have to wait a whole minute to see 5 members of Dirty Lake and the boys in this game at least. But another wave crashing in, the Victory Rock being thrown as well. It's only Toasty to hold off the last of this attack. But Appy Picker and Lakenator, maybe they can try and find something, but it is not enough. Clinical predecessor, Even Worse Timing, take game number 1.
And what a performance. 315 CS on the Snoop. Then their SNOOP absolutely popping off. Able to really stop anybody anywhere around the map. And that was just a really clean performance. Started to get a little bit ugly on the kill count late in the game, ending 5 to 16. But that's not a true representation of how close that game was in like kill score throughout the entirety of that. Dirty Lake and the boys played very safe. They played very, very well in their positions. Unfortunately, Even Worse Timing were just able to group into the right spots and push them down in a whole lot of different situations there. Really, really clean performance and clear exhibition of the fact that they understand macro play and how to play MOBAs in general. It's not always about killing. It's about being in the right spot at the right time, taking advantages of flashes being down, taking advantages of other advantages you get throughout the map.
Yeah, they Even Worse Timing definitely understood the assignment that was given, and well, they aced it in game number 1. But they're going to have a little bit of, they still have 2 more games to go if they want to take the championship crown with Dirty Lake and the boys. Back to the drawing board maybe. There's a lot to look forward to and a lot to break down. We're going to throw it back to Rdawggg on the analyst desk to take us through that first game.
Thanks, Lance, and thank you, TJ. Welcome back to the desk. I am back with Trix and Spuds the Tuber. Wow, what a game 1. Even Worse Timing, taking game 1. Both these teams, we were watching, they were like taking it slow, building their pace, engaging, then counter-engaging, taking 1 kill, then another. But meanwhile, Pablo was cooking up a storm, Snoop putting in the pressure, Ray just showing us how much of a monster he is in the jungle. They were grocery shopping, prepping the ingredients, and they were cooking. Spuds, talk to us about what you saw and what stood out to you about game 1.
I was trying to take notes, but I got too mesmerized by just how great this gameplay's been. Just I think EWT was just dominating every way they possibly could. I don't think they dropped anything from what I saw. EWT and Dirty Lake and the boys, instead of responding to things, EWT was already done doing what they were trying to do, and I feel like they just dominated too hard right now.
Yeah, I really, we saw that they attempted to gank Morgesh in the mid lane, but the rotation from even worse timing, they were able to turn things around. Shin doing a beautiful job keeping Appy in check, as well as Vecron doing his job protecting and supporting his team the way they needed him to. Trix, what are the highlights for you about game one?
Yeah, early game in the off lane, it looked like it was going to be pretty close, and then Nitro messed up his wave management a little bit, let Shinbi kind of farm the Snoop, farm close to his tower for a little while. Ray hovered. There was some pressure applied, and then the Shinbi started to run away with the game. Vecron was able to roam, and then instead of, Dirty Lake and Toasty being able to put pressure on Pablo, it ended up, sometimes they engage 2v1. Pablo gets a kill. Vecron is mid lane helping out the Shin. I hate FaZe as a character. She's so oppressive to play against. That energy lance coming out, the last second pulls saving people from certain death. It's so frustrating to watch because I really wanted Dirty Lake and the boys to pull this out, but the gameplay from Even Worse Timing was just it was picturesque.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. I agree. And Toasty, Nitro, Grady, Appy, and Lakeinator did what they can. But what can they do? What do they need to change, Spuds? How can they take game two away from Even Worse Timing?
That's a really good question. I don't think I have an answer for that. I don't know what they could possibly change right now. Outside of lane management, maybe a better draft. I have absolutely no clue. Better comms. I am lost right now at what they could possibly do here.
Yeah, they did a really good job and, capitalizing on the heroes and using the whatever champions / heroes that they have and using their skills to their advantage. If someone's blink was missing, they use that as their advantage. What about you, Trix? What does Dirty Lake and the boys need to do in order to take game two?
So what I saw coming out of Even Worse Timing was, in these games, a lot of times you end up with hey, now here's a really good opportunity to do something. We pushed up to tower, let's go take Fang. They were predicting when those moments were happening, and they were capitalizing. We saw Ray at 6 minutes walk into the enemy jungle and take the blue buff. But then when we panned the camera out, it's because, there was 3 waves stacked up in the duo lane, and they crashed them at that exact time. And then Pablo and Vecron were able to put pressure on Lake and Toasty. So for Dirty Lake and the boys, I think to have a chance in this next game, one, I do think that their draft needs to be better. They need to do something about that rampage. They need to do something about the FaZe or the Shinbi. Like, you have to pick something, you have to target it, and then you have to recognize when these moments where Even Worse Timing are going to capitalize, when those moments happen, and you need to be ready to counterpunch.
Yeah, Ray did a really good job playing Rampage. If they take Rampage away from him, there are still other strong junglers that he could pick, and I'm really curious to see if they will or will they not. How will this next draft look like? Anything to add, Spuds, about game one? And any predictions for game two?
I think I'm gonna stick with my prediction for Even Worse Timing going into game two, but I believe the casters brought it up about how much teamwork Even Worse Timing had. I don't think they had a teamwork. I think they were in each other's minds. I think that was a single person with 10 arms playing the game for everybody. I don't think that they're just one giant hive mind. They're not separate people.
Yeah, it was so incredible watching them play, and like what Trix was mentioning, I didn't even notice that, with the waves crashing over onto Duo at the same time, that something else was happening over on the other side of the map. Anything else that you'd like to add, Trix?
I'm interested to see how Dirty Lake and the boys adapt. It's a big challenge in front of them, and the solution starts in the draft of game two.
Yep, and Lance said that Dirty Lake and the boys, they're all educated players. They know what they're doing. Let's see how they'll adapt to game two. But before that, let's go for a break.